of the way that the guys just put in the shit.
Hey, what's it like in Brazil right now? Is it warm? Yeah. It's always hot, huh? Yeah.
You really suck.
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
You getting that ass, Larry? Know what I mean? You getting that ass, Larry. That's what the fuck you do.
We are enjoying a lot about this time here.
Why are you holding up a card to indicate a penalty? Like, there's so many different things you can do and you decide to hold up a card? That's insane to me.
Oh no, I'm stuck. Step bro, come help me.
Where is the vagina? It's a trick question because you can't see it here. You need to part the labia first.
Labia! Yeah, they say it. All right, I can't stop thinking they're actually saying that. And I didn't do that on purpose. Anyhow, welcome to the Straight Red Card. Even Flow! Welcome to all of you who are here early. We'll try to give you as much fluff as possible. We weren't stuck in traffic. I was busy bitching about my work day to Brett, and then we're like, oh, fuck, it's late. So that was my fault.
Actually, let me pull something real quick before you start going too far into stuff. We've got new bingo cards.
No shit.
Yeah.
No new bingo cards.
And it wasn't Salty Loads who did it either.
No kidding.
It was were you gonna block your screen or?
Nah, I mean I can.
You don't have to. I mean it's up to you. Just you always used to.
There you
go. All right. So this is On the Reed Chase Propaganda, which is kind of fitting for the show today. But yeah, he brought back some Mitch Desi's inspired bingo cards.
Classics.
Make sure you grab one. The reason I say that is because I think you've already hit like two topics on them already. So there's one.
Probably, yeah. Even Flow, I'm sure it's still on there.
We're looking at one right now.
Even Flow, float around like butterflies. Yeah. All right.
You guys can go to my handle and pick them up at straight_red.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to kind of promote my one of my friend's new albums. This is a really good one. Let's see. There it is. Jen Swingley's new album. On the same label. And by the way, great news. My album, which has been waiting for a year and a half for copyright release, has been approved for all major fucking, all of them. All the major music spots, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. It's going to come out on 12/20, which is exciting since we've been fighting this copyright block by YouTube for a year and a half. Thank you, YouTube. I'm sure you guys didn't even know you were doing it, but apparently you thought somebody else owned the copyright to the songs. And thus we're blocking us from releasing the album to anyone else. I think that's insane. Just because there was a video up of one of the songs from 2003. That does not mean somebody else owns the copyright, dumb fuckers. God damn. Anyhow, it's going to come out. When it does, we'll make a big deal of it sometime in later September. But there are already 2 official videos released for the album. You can find them, I think, by just putting in Derek Ritchie Brando music, and it'll pop up on YouTube. Have a listen. Selling a bunch of albums in November and December. Don't know why. Have no clue why. No idea. I'm not promoting it. Haven't done a damn thing, but selling them anyhow, which sucks because that means in this cold ass fucking weather, I got to drive to the goddamn U.S. Postal Service to get them mailed out in this. What are we at? 19 degrees here in Indianapolis, Indiana. What a bunch of shit. And we're not even into January yet, that's when we usually get this shit. Not in December. December, we've had late Decembers where it is sunny and 60 degrees out. And just a handful of years ago, it was nice out here. But no, not anymore.
Yeah. Real quick, Lamar Reynolds wants to know what's his background. And this is actually, if I recall correctly, this is Oprah Winfrey's Las Vegas sweet.
Oprah.
And every now and then she gives it to me for the weekend. And I come to Vegas once in a while.
Oprah Winfrey, Trump's once very close friend. Very odd how that whole relationship went to shit. Also,
Derek Anthony wants to say that your camera sucks. We can't see the album.
I don't think that's because of the camera. Honestly, I think that's just because I don't know. See, it fades in and out. I don't know why it does that.
No, it's the virtual background that's
it is the virtual background, but that's the Finn Swingley album. Finn actually played on one song with me back in 2001 on one of my albums. He's a great musician and a longtime friend, and so go check that out. We will get to Tact show today, where he said Reyna needs to move in the winter. No, he doesn't. And that Taylor Booth needs to move in the winter. No, he doesn't. And we'll get into that. So more disagreements with Tact. That's okay. We're all good friends here, and it won't be personal as usual. Also, did you, Brett, get a chance to check out your any porn sites lately in Indiana and figure out
the site I go to is fine.
You're not going to tell us which site that is?
Fuck no.
I would guess that they're just not following the rules.
That's possible.
Which, all right. Well, anyhow.
Breaking the law.
Well, I mean, if you go to any of the major big ones, they're blocked. So is yours one of a major big one?
No. I don't think so. I mean,
there you go.
I've never heard it. I don't even know how I stumbled across it, but I stumbled across this back in college and shit, man.
Is this like pegging.com?
Damn it, you figured it out, Derek.
I fingered it out. All right. Oh, tonight.
You got a finger close to the pulse?
Yeah, something like that. Something that starts with a P. Anyhow, tonight I'll be drinking Delirium. Look at this big ass bottle of beer. It is their black ale, barreled aged, 11.5% alcohol, a whole 1 pint, 9.4 fluid ounces of Devastation that was slowly made and then aged in bourbon barrels, which is not really my thing. It says barrel aged on it, but didn't say bourbon, which I think is quite, I'm hoping this doesn't blow up in my face. All right, it didn't. Thank God. So I will let you know.
Something like that, right?
What? I hope this doesn't blow up in my face. I've never really distinctly had that problem because I can't blow my own trumpet, right? Okay, that's not bad. The bourbon's very subtle. The smell, malty. That's pretty good. I'd say this is distinctly potable, and I wouldn't really expect anything less from Delirium. They make good beer. It is Belgium, so it is a foreign beer. Sell us t-shirts. You got to buy this, guys. You got to buy this. This is a great t-shirt. It's an awesome t-shirt. Tact owns one. There's like 200 other people that own one as well. Maybe not this one specifically, but a version of this. Some people own the Beavis and Butthead one, but we sold about 200 of these over the last year and a half. So go look it up. It's they're great, high quality. I know they're a little on the expensive side, but what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Reynolds is asking if still looking up Heather Harmon stuff. Does Heather still make stuff? Not
who's Heather Harmon?
Heather I Deep Throat Harmon. She was very popular for deep throating.
Is this in the movie Deep Throat? Because she's not in that movie.
No. Deep Throat was way too long ago. Heather was.
I gotta check this out then. Heather, I'm writing it down. Harmon. I will investigate.
Yeah,
get back to you guys. Brett would know because of his long partnership with our benefactor, Mr. Peter North, who he's known for years. He's probably got a little more insight about some of these older stars. Although I'm pretty good myself, honestly. Been around the block. All right, for the now 79 of you, giggity, that are here, make sure you like, subscribe, share with your grandma, and give your stepsister our best, especially as we head into this winter, Xmas, Christmas, whatever you want to call it, holiday season.
Apparently, Heather came back during COVID. Time is tough, man.
So is she a MILF now? Or
I mean, age-wise, yeah, I guess. I don't know necessarily if she has kids.
Yeah, but they don't care about that in the porn industry.
I haven't talked to her in like 10, 15 years, man.
Harmon?
Yeah.
What about North?
Sure, every other weekend.
Okay. You guys are still contacting. That's good to know.
Yeah. I gotta still be a little bit in that industry. Just the toe.
Keep a toe in. Keep a toe in, yeah. It's a whole nother fetish we can get into. All right, that's all I had as far as updates today. I don't know how long this show's going to be. Well, I guess we'll just see.
Yep, 4 hours to get into it now.
But we will get into the tag thing about Reyna and Taylor Booth. Yes. How about that Fulham match? Hell yes. And good for fucking what an amazing game by Jedi today. Fabulous game. Great assist. They needed that win. They got the win. Yes.
I didn't get to watch the game. I saw the assist, and I don't know, just from the stats, it looked like he had a pretty solid defensive game.
By the way, I really wanted to also, before this show, watch the Bournemouth game, but it was not available as a replay on Peacock, so I could not watch it. But Adams went to full 90 in that mother. So I haven't got a chance to watch it yet.
I got the stats and everything pulled up here. Yeah, we'll go over that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can go over it now. I mean, I've got other fluff, but we can talk about this since you brought it up. It looks like Boomer is about to start a podcast of his own called Everything in Moderation.
Everything in Moderation. I'm not sure we're the perfect people for that show.
Well, he said he's going to talk about everything. Hope to have us on as a guest.
Yeah, we'd love to be on there. I'm not sure we're about moderation, but I mean, yeah. Brett and I are very different kinds of people, but we're also have a lot of shared interests. So there's that, right? But we are different types. But moderation has not been my middle name for a long time, and which is why I'm probably going to face some health issues in my 50s.
Hope not, Derek. I'm hoping this podcast goes another decade. Go.
Me too. Jedi was great. Awobi was a beast. He was. It's just. I love my Fulham, so I'm not going to overdo it with everybody because not everybody watching is a Fulham fan. I have been since the early 2000s, and I'm loving it. I just don't like the thought of Jedi leaving. That makes me nervous. So, Derek.
I mean, outside of a bigger payday at this point, I mean, I couldn't imagine why he'd want to.
Well,
that would go to a bigger club, but then he's, jeopardizing things.
I would think that the bigger payday would be the thing, right? And somebody's calling me right now. That's bad timing.
That's your actual doorbell.
Yeah, no, that's my phone. Anthony Pedra says, Derek, have any funny stories like this from his music days? What kind of stories? They said they were robbed on Tuesday in Vallejo just as they were starting the U.S. tour. I don't really have any. I mean, I have some funny stories for sure, but nothing about being robbed. Like that. Never been robbed. Now, when July 4th, I went to my parents to celebrate July 4th. I came home and all of my music equipment had been stolen from my house. So yeah, and my door was wide open and my cat was roaming around on the porch going, just kind of casually chilling on the porch as if he was waiting for me to come home. Unfortunately, he wasn't a dog and didn't thus threaten the breaker-inners. I kind of know who that was, though, who broke in and stole all my shit. It was an ex-girlfriend and all her druggy friends. So there you go.
That bitch.
Yep.
Okay, 1 second. I'm just pulling something else up here real quick.
I mean, there was a time we drove around in a van for such a long time. Then we would open the van door and, you got 5 sweaty, stinky dudes in there for days on end. And we hadn't had a bath in 3 days. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Like, we opened the door and there's this girl to greet us at a place we were going to stay. And her face turned green. Like, oh, like, you guys stink so bad. I got a shower. Everyone's got to take a shower. Yeah. Thank God. We all wanted to take a shower. Trust me. Living on a band van and driving miles and miles and miles all over the fucking Midwest sucks. Hardcore. It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's horrific.
And then you're relying when you get to these small college towns or even Chicago on friends taking care of you. And not all of them are going to be able to provide all the things you need, like a shower, a kitchen to cook your food. No, you just got to deal. You got to deal. You might end up sleeping in the garage with their dogs, which happened to me on 2 occasions. I ended up sleeping in someone's garage with their dogs. So there you go.
Sweet.
With the dogs, literally on the floor with their dogs. Yes. It happens in the music industry.
Nice.
So, well, for the, lower level music tours, if you will, not the glamorous ones. So, yeah, we never really quite made it to glamour, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a fucking job, as Anthony says. It was a job. All right.
So I know we've gone over a couple of these videos where, comedians talk about the English language. I don't recall doing this one yet. So
okay.
Figured we go ahead and play this one real quick. He's a foreigner and he's talking about the English language and how difficult it is.
Cool.
I think the hardest word in America has been the word shit. I thought it's easy, that I know what shit means. But it turns out I didn't know shit. I think it's the most complicated word. Like, how can it be if something is bad, it's shit? If something is really good, it's the shit. I had to study that shit. If I give shit to you, that means that I'm telling you off. But if I give shit, then I care. And if I take shit, then I accept that you are bullying me. But if I take shit, I take a shit. And I learned that my shit is always good and positive, but your shit, his shit, her shit, always bad. Like, I can't deal with her shit. I have to put up with his shit. Clean up your shit. But don't touch my shit. I think the hardest word in America.
No, that's good. That's really good. Somebody else did a skit kind of like that. I think it was George Carlin. You don't take a shit. You leave a shit. Yes. Old George Carlin stuff. Yeah. And then, it's a verb, adverb, adjective, noun. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I thought you can get away with using the word fuck in a lot of ways, but that just proved that there's words that are more versatile than fuck.
Yeah. Well, fuck's pretty versatile as well.
It can be, yeah.
I think it can be multiple things. Obviously, a verb, a noun.
Some different examples of shit.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck. So that's a noun, right? It's what you don't give. And then, I'm fucking. That's
a good fuck.
A verb, right?
That fuck over there.
Yeah. We can get we could go on all night about this. Richard Pryor probably did something like that too, says Kumar. I bet he did. Big Pryor fan here. So old days, records, when you can buy comedy albums on records and listen to them.
Yeah. Well, Derek, now we're going to watch something called It's Football Sunday, and you've been reading too many romance books.
Okay.
You have to like when there's a guy coming right in your face and he just sits in there and delivers it.
His face feeling is the Cowboys probably coming right down their throats.
Tyrell Williams. He beats.
Needed 2 thrusts to get it in.
Fines has been coming all night long, but then he pulls out and it's just hard. It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big. He almost didn't know what to do. Got 5 inches on him, but somebody's going to get that gobbler at the end of this game, too.
Receiver coach has been blown away by Crabtree's hands and his ability to suck in these balls.
This man will have to be really good to beat us. I think their D's been fine.
I think their D has really probably performed above expectations coming in.
Is a thick wide receiver who is powerful from the waist down. And
Everybody loves Dick around the list.
it's the combination.
That's good. I love these out of context things. These are fucking fabulous. Okay, that was good. Woo.
It's been a while since we've done some stuff like that.
Yeah, more stuff like that. That would be great. I'm sure there's some soccer stuff too. We could, especially, but mostly in the women's game, when the goalkeepers, women goalkeepers save something or hit something. Well, she did a great job of keeping that out of her box.
Commanding box.
Yeah, she's really commanded her box all night.
We're gonna have to start listening for that stuff when we do our live streams.
Yeah. She's been really aggressive in punching in her box. Punching the ball in her box. It's like, okay, I know what you're saying, but we probably could stop using the word box constantly. But all right,
doing the out of context stuff for soccer would just be a lot of ball talk.
Probably there will be a lot of balls, but yeah, with the men, a lot more balls. He's amazingly at juggling his balls.
Yeah.
All right. So anyhow, we'll get to that. If we find it, we will put it out here. All right. Thanks.
If we don't catch it, if you guys catch it,
send it our way. We'll put it up.
We got intros.
Right.
Derek is scouring the internet trying to find all these little nuggets of gold.
I don't remember who the comedian was who did the whole football thing, but he said, they call football NFL football such a manly sport. But I gotta have some questions about some of the names of the players. Like the guy outside's a wide receiver. What kind of wide receiver? And then the other guy that also goes out for the passes, he's a tight end. That's kind of odd that he's tight end. Anyhow, he had a bunch of these, and they were really good. They were really good. I can't remember it's in the 80s. So I forgot the guy's name.
Well,
all right.
I'm sure this is still kind of fluff.
Hold on. For the 125 of you who are here, make sure you like, subscribe on both Twitter and YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. And thank you for joining us on this Thursday night. A lovely, cold, frigid, ball freezing Thursday night here in Indianapolis.
Down to 18 degrees now.
Down to 18 degrees here. Like if you step out naked, you will freeze quickly. Yes.
Still talking fluff pieces here, but going into soccer now. Do you know that the Club World Cup was picked today?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I thought that was picked 3 days ago.
Nope, 6 hours ago. Well, 6 hours ago, as far as Max's posts.
So. Oh, you mean the groups?
Yeah, the groups. Yes.
Oh, are you going to put them up?
I will. It will here in a second. Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's the overall plan. Yes.
I'm getting excited. Sorry.
Are you?
I am.
Really? Are you?
Yeah, my hand's on my nuts.
Woo! So Max, our good friend Max Bredos.
Mm-hmm.
He was watching the when they're picking the balls blindly. They're wearing sunglasses to insinuate that they're blind, but they're not really blind.
Right.
Grabbing the balls out of the container. He noticed quite the celebrities, or all the celebrities that were there
to grab the balls,
collecting the balls.
All right,
such as John C. Reilly. See, look at John.
Oh, okay.
He's a little tan. He's tan. He must have been down in the Bahamas or Mexico or somewhere.
I guess, yeah.
End of fall.
Is that really?
Probably.
Is that really him?
Yeah. Look, here's a photo. You guys probably recognize him for him. So this is what he usually looks like. But he came back from vacation to select the balls for the Club World Cup.
Okay. So he jiggled the balls around, and then he grabbed some balls.
Yeah,
well, exactly. He grabbed the balls one at a time and tugged them out of the jar. Right?
Yeah. This is shocking to me. The internet's going to be abuzz. I don't think John C. Reilly's going to be able to get away with this. I think he's going to get canceled tomorrow.
Okay.
That's how it's going to be.
Maybe. Dr. Steve Brule. Exactly. Yes, Fumar, Indiana is regulating masturbation through what they think is an infallible law that will allow what it would require human beings to put their driver's license or provide their driver's license to the porn site. Like, that's what you want on record for the rest of your life, that you went to jigglesmyballs.com. That's the dumbest law I've ever heard of. There are ways to protect your kids. It's called your parents. Your parents protect your kids. For Christ's sake. What the fuck is wrong with you, Indiana? Anyhow. All right. Palmeiras, Porto, Al Ahly, Inter Miami. Oh, well, that's quite favorable group for Inter Miami.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. So
quite favorable. They should be quite competitive against Al Ahly and maybe pluck a point from the other two. Then we got PSG, Atletico, Botafogo, and the Sounders. Ooh, that's a tough group for the Sounders.
Not great for the Sounders there.
Yeah, that looks rough going for them. Atletico and PSG. I don't like only two teams get out of each group, or are we talking about? No, well, it's a 32-team tournament, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it will be the old school 32 where, let's see. I guess it's just 16 out. You're right. Just the top two. Yeah.
Yep. Group C. Yep. Bayern, Auckland City, Boca Juniors, and Benfica.
Auckland City? How are they? Oh, my God. All right. But I suppose they're there.
32 teams, Derek. 32.
Is Del Piero still playing in fucking Australia? Remember when he did that to end his career?
I know, it's a shame. There were rumors he was going to come to MLS, and I would have gone to whatever game that team played Chicago.
Me too. Yeah.
I would love to have seen him play live, but he opted to go to Australia instead.
That's so weird that nobody offered him more in MLS. So weird. Del Piero.
Maybe he just wanted to go down under for a while.
Well, some guys like doing that for a while. I'm personally not a favorite of that, but not for a while. I'll do it for a little while, not for a long while. All right. Boca Juniors, Benfica. Okay.
So who do you got going through that group?
I'm going to go with Bayern and Benfica. I mean, that's chalk. It's chalk, basically. Let's do the other ones. We skipped the other ones.
All right.
Group A or Group B. Who's going through? PSG and Atletico. That's easy.
Sure. I guess I just don't know how Boca and Botafogo will compare, because I haven't really watched the Club World Cup in the past.
I mean,
so I don't know how they do.
They're good teams,
sure,
but
I mean, I've seen more Atletico and PSG and Bayern and Benfica than I have the other two teams. So I mean, I'm just looking at it, going, I mean, these are obviously good teams in good leagues, but I'm like, are they going to be able to? I mean, I'm sure they could hold their own.
You know what? Spencer Doherty makes a good point, because we're morons right now. Auckland is a city in New Zealand. It's even more laughable. It's it's not the Wellington Phoenix, which I'm more familiar with. In this group, this is tough. I'm going to say Palmeiras and Porto go through.
I mean, those would have been my first two go-tos, but yeah. I don't know. This could be this could be a toss-up.
I don't think so. I think Inter Miami will even have a hard time with Al Ahly. Honestly, they will.
Isn't that the team that beat the Sounders or whatever it was last
could be, but it was some other team in that region. Yes, similarly named. I didn't watch or follow very closely. All right, so when we go to Group D. We got Tunis, Flamengo, Chelsea, and Club Lyon. Whoa, that's a tough one, man. I think, you'd say Chelsea, and then actually between the other three teams, I think it's a toss-up. It's a fucking toss-up.
I'm going to go unknowingly the Brazilian league as a whole and just say Flamengo.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick at all. I can't go Club Lyon. I just can't do it. But not because I'm anti-Club Lyon. I just think they're kind of a sketchy team right now. And I don't know what they're going to be once the Club World Cup happens either. I mean, Mexico is up and down. And I'll probably go with you and go with Flamengo. But don't be surprised if the Tunisian team puts up a great fight and ends up squeaking through. All right, what else we got? River Plate, the Urawa Reds, Monterey, and Inter. Well, I'm going to go with Inter first. And after that, I think you're looking at another toss-up. I think people are going to look at, J-League team, not really good. Yeah, no, they're really good.
I couldn't tell you.
I mean,
so this is me showing my ignorance towards a lot of the world in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I barely have enough time to watch a handful of USA, player games, let alone, games that are taking place in leagues I don't have a reason to follow.
Right. And by the way, Ping says Leon are stinking up in Liga MX. That's kind of my point. And he thank you for bringing it to the fore. Like, I mean, they had an okay season before, but they suck right now. So it's kind of hard. And you'll see that in Mexico a lot of shifting in who sucks and who doesn't. And so I just don't know what they're going to look like once this tournament happens. Whereas the Urawa Reds seem to be pretty stable. I think I'm going to go with Inter and River Plate out of this group.
That's the safe.
Yeah.
And I say safe, but again, I could be completely wrong. I mean, I feel like Inter's still going to run away with that group.
I mean, there could be a big upset, but I think, we're not betting on it one if we're just playing it.
Well, it really depends on who Inter ends up playing. I mean, are they going to come, guns blazing with their A squad, or are they going to mix it up?
I think if you're going to have to go to this and you're going to have to play River Plate, you're going to have to play your good guys.
I hope so.
You can't go fuck around against River Plate.
This is brutal for the players. I mean, they already have their
I know.
seasons anyways. Now you're taking away their off season by playing this massive of a thing.
I know, but they don't care. FIFA doesn't care. They don't care anymore about the players, and the players, quite frankly, have not really come together. Formed a real powerful message as a union of workers or players and said, FIFA, we will fuck you if you keep doing this to us. And then you have to also keep in mind that there are thousands of other teams that didn't get to make this tournament who are going to be resting, right? And so how do you convince them that that's an important issue, since only the top big teams make this, or the big teams from certain countries make it? So
do you think, just going off the European sides, but do you think like the Inters, the Chelseas and stuff, do you think they come into this where they play more of a, they play more or less their A squad, but they're shuffling in players to kind of give other players rest throughout it? Or do you think they're going to go guns blazing?
I think depending on your group, right? I think if you have Auckland City in your group, you can rest some guys on that game because you're going to win that game anyhow. So I think there are certain groups where there's an obvious team where you can rest some players. In other groups, there just aren't. Like this one, there are really no obvious teams where you can take a breather if you're Inter. Like, who do you take a breather against? I'm not taking a breather against the Urawa Reds. They've got some seriously skilled motherfuckers on that team. And there's a reason they're here. So I wouldn't fuck with them. I put out a good squad. And then
we went with Inter and River, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Fluminense, Dortmund, Ulsan from South Korea, and the Sundowns from South Africa. Obviously the Sundowns are going to be the team that everybody wants to beat up on here. But I mean, it's still going to be competitive between them and Ulsan. You would think Dortmund wouldn't fuck this up, but who knows?
It depends. I mean, it depends on what form they're entering this summer. I mean, what they're like 5th or 6th in Bundesliga right now.
Yeah,
they're getting some results here and there, but they're not getting enough results. Not getting enough.
I mean, if you had to pick two teams, it's going to be Dortmund and Fluminense.
That's who I would pick. But
again, don't discount Ulsan and those Korean players. Those are some sharp players. Like, I think South Korea and Japan both have some really skilled players at the tiki-taka stuff. They're really technically good. So I wouldn't count them out. We'll see. But yeah, Dortmund and Fluminense. Fluminense. According to BMR. I am not Brazilian and do not speak any Portuguese at all. So there you go.
I'm far worse than Derek, so I'm not even going to try. I mean, I would try. It would just sound like a butchered American's attempt.
Yeah, I always thought it was Fluminense, but I guess there's an at the end of that with the E in Portuguese.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
All
just
right,
I'm looking at the what the chat's saying. They have some. There might be somebody in the chat that has some insight on certain players and stuff like that.
Well, Pink says Derek Fluminense
might get relegated.
2 points out of relegation zone.
Yeah.
So I totally understand how things are going to be totally different once this World Cup rolls around. Some of these teams could be fucking relegated.
God, it's so strange. And I mean, it was the team that almost won La Liga last year.
Oh yeah.
But they're like
Girona.
Yeah, now they're like sitting like 12th in the league, something like that.
Yep.
Like how crazy can you go like from being a competitor one season to almost flop in the next? It's so strange.
Well, they lost some of their key guys too.
Sure.
And that's what happens when you pull off something like that. People come and steal your best players. Buyers times gaming for $9.99. A token of my appreciation. We do appreciate it, buyers. Been watching since 2020-21 when you guys were just doing audio only. You guys, along with Filippo and Pete, have helped rekindle my love for the sport and the U.S. men's national team. Cheers, man! I'm toasting you, my friend.
I would, but I finished all my drinks.
Oh, thank you for being around for so long. When Brett and I were like, oh yeah, we'll never do a live show. No, we're not going to do it.
It was so strange. The beginning, like, oh, we can do live stream. I don't know. I don't really. I'm not sure we can trust ourselves on a live stream.
I know.
What are we gonna say and do, man?
What if we say something that gets us totally fucking canceled and we lose our job?
It's still possible.
I think we've learned.
We're pretty safe. I mean, we skirt the edges.
Yeah, we do.
We know what not to say, basically.
Most of the time, yeah, I'd say 99.9% of the time we know where to draw the line.
Of the soccer community, we're the vulgar drunk uncles, but we know where to stop.
Yeah, I mean, do we sometimes? I don't know. All right, Man City, Wadad, not my dad, but Wydad. It's Wadad, not Wydad, not Wydad. Wydad, why? And then Al Ainus. No, Al Ain.
Come on, they should have thought about that.
I know they really should have. And then Juventus. Well, this is Juventus and Man City all day long.
100%.
I mean,
come on. I don't even need to know. I don't even know.
They're going to take out Al Ainus and my dad, no problem. All right, that's done. All right, that's the easiest group so far.
COVID, bro. Yeah, we were actually really good on not using that word.
We used
the whole time period. The beer bug.
Yep.
All that stuff.
Yep. All right. Group G's easy. That's the easiest one so far.
G was probably the easiest of the groups.
But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there's like a tie between Juventus and Al Ainus. I just wouldn't.
Anything's possible. Again, but nobody in the right mind would pick another team out of that group.
Right. Tom says Brett has a filter. Derek, not so much. That's probably fair. That's fair. Sure. All right.
I usually just roll with his so when he starts talking about certain things, I'm just like, yeah.
I'm not telling you what porn I watch. Yeah.
Did you see the chat when that whole topic came up? Because they're like, Brett likes watching this and this, and it's just like there's like a list of like 5 or 6 people saying like what they're thinking I watch.
Yeah. And was any of it accurate?
I mean, I diversify.
You deserve it. Okay. Diversification is good. All right. This one is also, outside of Real Madrid, then, it kind of becomes a slight throw. I mean, how did Salzburg make this? How did they make this thing? Was it Europa League?
Why would Europa League get one?
I don't know. Huh. Anyhow, they're in it. No Paxten Aaronson. Obviously.
Lamar, you butchered that. It's not Chuck, by the way.
Chuckhold?
He was supposed to write cuckold.
Cuckold. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I don't suspect you'd be into that much.
No.
And if you are, give me a call. All right. Anyhow.
And timestamp.
Just saying your wife is hot. All right. Anyhow, that was a
Yeah.
nice way of me
Yeah,
saying
hey.
your wife is hot.
I appreciate the compliment.
Anyhow,
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Just, whatever. It came out. All right. So for this one, I'm going to go with Real Madrid. And, I'm actually going to go with Pachuca on this one. Although this is not your mom's Pachuca. So, your grandma's Pachuca. I just having a real hard time with all the Mexican teams right now. Okay. I change it. I'm going Madrid and Salzburg. Yeah. I'm going to Salzburg. Sorry, Pachuca.
BMR says I should bring my wife on the channel. I've told her, I'm like, hey, people have been requesting you to be on the show at one point, and she's like, she's like always jokingly says, I'm willing to go on the show, but you have to be out of the room, and I need time to do it all.
Is this a online cuck thing about to happen here?
Maybe.
You can't,
Maybe
you can't be in the.
Who knows?
You have to watch from afar.
No. If it was cuckold, I wouldn't be out of the room. I'd just be sitting on a chair.
That's true.
Next to the computer.
It's your wife's trips, and anyhow. All right, crikey, indeed.
Oh, nobody knows anything about that. She's just going to participate in the stream. Man.
I'm sure she's still hot, but I haven't.
She's probably watching right now.
I haven't seen her for 2 years, right? Year and a half, right?
Hold on. What'd I get?
Oh, she sent you a message?
Oh, safe. She's not watching.
Okay, good. Well, I think she'd be actually pretty flattered. All right, for the 100...
I would imagine so, actually.
Speaking of flattered, for the 169 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with your grandma in the old kind of 69 way. All right, and
say Derek, you got to pick a winner. Who are you picking?
A winner.
Winner, chicken dinner.
I'm going to go with Real Madrid.
Go with Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think they're going to figure this shit out by then. They're going to figure it out. They'll figure out how to get Mbappe and all the other guys working together and getting that flowing. I know it's a simple, easy pick. Yeah, who do I want to win? That's a whole different thing. Of course, I want Juventus to win, as long as McKennie and Ware are still there, because I know that's your team. But if they're gone, then I don't give a fuck about Juventus anymore. But
I mean, it is the summer transfer window, and this is occurring. So Weston's always going to be on the chopping block.
I know, but
it's going to be rumors galore, and he's probably not going to play the last 5 games of the season. Bulk back up.
Mm-hmm. Fumar says his lady watches this show. That must be that 0.001% that we get.
Unless she's watching it with him, though.
That reminds me of Fumar. That song, "Lady, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you." Remember that one? That was by Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers, I believe that was. I believe that was Kenny Rogers. If I'm not correct, let me know.
Derek, I'm going to go out on a limb. This is out of left field, and it may not happen, but I'm going to guess Man City wins it.
I would think you might be right up until like the last month.
That's fair, but they've got a whole year to correct, a half a year, I guess, to correct course.
Yeah, but Pep's out there like beating himself against walls, punching himself. I don't know. He seems a little unstable right now.
It's all for show. He's just psyching everybody out. So when they go to Club World Cup, they're going to be the underdogs.
It sounds. I mean, he's been hitting himself with bats, running into walls on purpose.
Sounds like he's in an abusive relationship right now.
Some serious self-punishment he's doing on his
check his special lady friend.
So we'll see if Pep can pull it together and they can get their most important player healthy. And we're acting like this tournament's tomorrow. It's a while off, folks. So a lot of these teams are going to completely change who they got and who they're bringing by the time this tournament is played. Right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? We can't say.
I guess it really depends on when they have to have their roster turned in by. I mean, if the summer window isn't open yet, and they have to turn in that roster ahead of time, it's probably going to be predominantly the same group of people that are there right now. Because most of these teams, at least the big European sides, they don't change their roster all that much in the winter. Bayern might be the exclusion here.
I don't even think they're going to do that much, honestly.
It was just we were talking about like Gio going to Forest last winter, and we had talked about like, during the winter there's no real big transfers going on, and then you look at the transfers and it's like Bayern had like the top 3 highest transfers.
Yeah,
and then everybody else is like $1 million or less.
Yeah, I just don't think the winter window has never really bared large amounts of fruit lately. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be massive, but I do think we've got the summer before, or the summer right after during the transfer window, right?
Well, sure. I mean, what the did they mention the?
So you're right. It'll probably be mostly the same, but at the same time, we don't know what state those clubs are going to be in. Look at Dortmund could finish mid-table this season the way they're playing. Yeah. So there's that.
That one Brazilian team I'm not going to try to pronounce might get relegated.
Fluminense.
There you go.
There we go. Now that
that's not as difficult as I thought. Now that you say it out loud again.
Well, I just didn't know it had an A sound at the end.
Sure.
I knew the rest of it. It's kind of like those Turkish clubs that I'm always pronouncing. Ankaragachu.
I still think they're either made up or I need to say Gesundheit every time you say those names.
No, Ankaragachu is a real team.
Yep. I'm sure they are.
Really
I'm sure they are.
I'm sure that's a real team.
Are.
Yes, they are.
All
right. What else we got? Damn, my hat always creeps up my fucking forehead during this show. I hate that.
You have headphones that have a top. How's your hat going up?
I don't know. My headphones are kind of all the way in the back of my head. So, all right. What are we doing? Miami didn't win shit and they're in. Yeah, they didn't. And yet they're in because, Messi. And
no, they won the Supporter Shield.
And Leagues Cup.
Hey.
I guess.
No.
Whatever.
It is marketing, and that's the only reason.
Oh, yeah. Messi had to be in it.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Of course he did.
No doubt. Yeah.
Well, all right. Moving on.
Mm-hmm. Moving on up. Okay.
I said that about Albert.
Mm-hmm.
His performance of what it was, like 2 goals and 3 assists or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, if he keeps this up, he's gonna be moving on up.
Moving on up to the top, to a deluxe department in the whatever it is. All right, anyhow, yes, Old Jefferson's theme song.
Well, ESPN has published the surprises of the Eredivisie.
Okay, the surprises.
You might notice some faces here.
Okay, biggest surprises. It's okay.
Pepe.
Pepe.
Pepe's is the biggest surprise.
In a good way. I don't think it's that surprising.
It's not surprising. I mean, even last season, he was scoring on the minimal minutes he was getting.
And now he's getting more minutes.
The season prior to that, he was leading scorer for a relegation-bound team, and he was still in contention up there.
Exactly. I don't find it. I don't know. Maybe they don't watch.
I really probably should have put this before the Paxten Aaronson, and maybe we'll talk about Paxten after this because Mr. Aaronson's on board.
Dude, and this was part of our title of our show. This kid is the real fucking deal, man. And I really do think in time he will replace Brendan Aronson on this squad. Although this Aaronson, Paxten, has showed he can play as a deep line midfielder, as a regular box-to-box midfielder, out wide. We've seen him play center attacking midfielder. We saw him with the youth teams play as center forward or a false 9. This kid's good, dude. He's not his brother at all.
I agree. What we see, they're good things. You know, his youth performances were good. He was one of the stars of the team, or the star of the team at that point, for the most part. He had a pretty decent Olympics, and obviously he's doing good with Utrecht.
Good is an understatement,
but sure,
they're second place.
Yes,
in Holland because he's on the team. This team without him is not second place. I'm sorry.
That's kind of my point. I posted on Twitter, or maybe that's in the description down below, right above the like button. If you guys don't know, but
right,
make sure you hit that like. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications.
Yes, hit the like. Yes,
but my question is, we've seen another Aaronson play in a lesser league and do well. Although I'm not saying that the Eredivisie and Austria are any comparison there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, is this his Salzburg? If he moves on, will he be able to replicate this in a better league that might be more physical? Although I think Paxten is a more physical player than Brendan was, and it took Brendan at least 2 years before he started owning up to that. I need to be more physical with this shit.
Paxton's definitely a different player, and he's built a little bit different than his brother. They do run in a similar way, but I think Paxten is more lower to the ground. His equilibrium seems to be better in general. He does seem to be kind of a leader, which is what I criticized the shit out of him for, lacking any sort of guts when he was at Frankfurt and got his chances at Frankfurt. And that's where he's going to go back to. Now, the question is, as good as Frankfurt is right now and what they're building towards the future, I think what they've said in the media, at least in Germany, is we believe in this guy and we want him back. We definitely want him back. They will have suitors, however, for Paxten Aaronson after what he has transformed Utrecht into. And let's not kid ourselves. Without Paxten Aaronson on this team this season, Utrecht are just not going to be at the top of the table. They're just not. They'll be a middle of the table team. And anybody, I was going to finish. Anybody who has watched Utrecht regularly this season has got to be nothing but balls out impressed by Paxten Aaronson. That's how I'll finish it.
So, I think you were kind of talking about this too, but I think Paxton's got trouble making Frankfurt's team. They've been incredible this season. With how well he's doing at Utrecht and the fact that he's going to be a luxury off the bench type person for Frankfurt at that point. What are the odds that Utrecht comes out and tries to get him this offseason?
I don't think they will because they can't afford it. But there are teams in Holland that can, named Ajax, Feyenoord, and PSV. I think it's more likely to be Ajax and Feyenoord. But I think if you read some of the clips from the other managers that he's played against this season from the big teams, pretty much, and this goes back to last season too, I should say, they were all impressed with this guy. The fact that Utrecht were able to get him this season is pretty astonishing. That there were Feyenoord or somebody else didn't show up and say, no, we want him on loan and paid more than Utrecht paid. But I think going forward, him being one of the best midfielders in the Eredivisie this season so far is going to get him a lot of looks from either those kind of big teams or a big team in France or one of the top 6 teams in France, 10 teams, 8 teams.
The interesting aspect of all this is I'm just looking at his stats and his wheel over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Compared to other midfielders, he's at 96th percentile for shots attempts, 96 on goal, 76% created, 73% defensive actions. That's kind of an all over the place midfielder here.
Yes.
But he's only 17% in touches. So does he just not get the ball a lot? And when he does something with it?
I'd say that's a correct way to put it. Yes.
Okay. And shocking to nobody, he's not an aerial threat.
No. But, he's been playing a deeper role for Utrecht. He's in their 4-2-3-1. He plays one of the two holds. So, for most of the season, that's what he's been doing.
Yeah.
So, and when that first started coming up and I first watching the games, I thought, why is he playing so deep? But he's just good at that too. Now, again, it's Holland, but I do think there will be interest from France, Italy. I don't think the Premier Leagues are coming. I think there might be lower teams in Germany that would be interested because as people have pointed out, and we have pointed out, Frankfurt are the bomb this season. They are badass. There's not a lot of whole open spots for him to be crawling back into when he gets back there. So he could go somewhere else. By the way, Maloney did not re-sign, so he could be gone this winter too. Haven't talked about that, but Maloney could be gone.
This
from
winter,
Heidenheim,
definitely
by
gone.
the way.
He's definitely gone in the summer, so Heidenheim might look to be offloading him in the winter.
Exactly, they want some money, so we'll just see where he goes, and that could be Heidenheim's also. They need to consider this their death knell because they are sitting near the bottom of the table, right?
Yeah. But to be said, the last couple of weeks, even with Maloney playing in the midfield, he hasn't been the stellar Maloney that we've seen in the past.
Yeah,
it's possible that Heidenheim has finally caught up to themselves.
It is
because I mean they're like we talked about this before. They're a two Bundesliga team at best with the size of their city. Now, of course, they're punching above their weight. They're punching above their weight. They did last year. They were expected to be relegated. They finished mid-table. They could again finish mid-table, but they lost a couple key players that were instrumental for the team.
I will tell you this: if they get rid of Maloney in the winter, they will go down.
That's a fair assumption. When Maloney wasn't playing with them, when he was injured and stuff like that, it was almost consistently a loss.
Loss. So, not that they've been winning since he's come back consistently, because they have not been, and they have looked, as you said, paltry. Scoring is a big problem for them right now. I don't know where those goals are going to come from, but they used to be super solid defensively with Maloney back there. So we'll see what happens. But if they do surrender Maloney in the winter, just so they don't give him away for free, question is, where will he go? Probably to a team in the mid-table who's still fighting to get and fight in the top like 6 or 7. Maybe he'll, we don't know. We don't know what the answer is, but I don't think he's going backwards. I don't think he's going to like Bundesliga. He'll go somewhere and he'll have a role. Hopefully somebody transforms him back into a center back, which is what I think his best role would be on some clubs. So we'll see. Anyhow, Paxten Aaronson.
Moving for him to move forward in Bundesliga and stuff like that, he's going to have to go to a center back role.
I think so.
They're as much of a destroyer as he is, and he covers a lot of ground. But when you get up higher in the table and stuff like that, teams are going to ask more of your center midfielders.
Correct. Yep.
So at that point, he's going to have to play as center back.
There aren't a whole lot of teams that just play what you would call the singular killer or the destroyer. Like most teams have a guy that plays a deep lying role in midfield, but they're not. They can pass too, and they're quite agile. Well, that's not Maloney. He's just a destroyer. That's it. He is. That's all he is. He's not going to give you goals, assists. He's not going to make through balls. He's a center back playing as a center defensive midfielder who looks a lot like a center back, by the way, a lot of the time for Heidenheim, dropping back between the two center backs to pick up the ball. So we'll see what happens with him, but go find another team. Is what I would say.
Jumping back to Paxten at this point. Looking forward to upcoming windows.
Yeah,
obviously not going to be available for the winter window.
Right.
All A and B teams from Euros won't be there. Obviously, it's going to be predominantly MLS based, and then maybe some fringe youth players in Europe and Mexico. Possible.
Right. But no. Yeah,
obviously, Paxten won't be there. But the next window he could possibly be at would be the March window, which is the Nations League finals.
Right. It's possible.
What are the odds if he continues his progression forward? I mean, you gotta remember, last window we had Vasquez and Cal. Nothing against Cal. I think Cal's starting to make a bigger case for himself. And that's still pretty low in the totem pole for me, but he's making a bigger case for himself than he was back in the day when he used to get.
And Vasquez is falling off a cliff with his club.
And that has no real indication with Paxten in a sense like that, because I'm looking at Paxten going, where does he fit on the team? He's going to take the cowl or an opening in our mid or center midfield somewhere,
somewhere. I mean,
center midfield area.
But I think it'll still be some time. I think Paxten will need to leave Utrecht. I think he'll need to go find a serious club somewhere. Not that Utrecht's not a serious club, but you and I know they're not finishing second in Holland. They're just not. Eventually, they will lose some games, and Feyenoord or
Sure.
Ajax will bump themselves back up, and by the end of the season, Utrecht will finish 5th. But if he keeps performing like this, he'll get to play somewhere else, and he'll just have to make a statement there. I don't think we're going to see Aaronson compete for any of those center midfielder spots. It's already jam-packed to begin with, unless there was a shitload of injuries, and Cardoso and Adams and a bunch of dudes are just maimed. And no, the midfield's stacked in a way that we haven't seen before. And when I say stacked, that doesn't mean we got a bunch of fucking, world-class players in the midfield. It just means he's still got a way to climb to catch up with the guys that are already there.
With Adams back, as long as he can remain healthy, you're looking at most likely Tessman's going to get called back up as long as he maintains his growth at Lyon. Because I think Poach likes him, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be in contention there. I think Maloney's still going to be on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have McKinney, and then who's replacing him? You have Cardoso. Is Paxten going to drop Cardoso?
Yeah, Cardoso's currently still injured too, but it's March. We're talking about March.
It's March.
Not to say we won't have a whole host of injuries then too, but we got a ways to go, and Paxton's got plenty of time to make a case. And I don't think it's going to be until after March that we see Paxten Aaronson called in, unless he lights it up and Utrecht stay in the top 2 the whole season, and he's the main reason why that they stay in the top 2 in the Eredivisie. If that's the reason why, then maybe you do find a place for him somewhere on the team. But I don't know where you do that and how you squeeze that in.
I'm sure there's a window between the March windows and Gold Cup. So maybe somehow you squeeze some of these French players in, because I imagine Gold Cup's probably, there's nothing going to be competing with. It's the Nations League in March. So Gold Cup, I'm guessing, is going to be predominantly an A squad.
Can you imagine this, Brett, though?
I could.
Brendan gets dropped and replaced by Paxten.
Yes, I could. I don't think it's going to happen for Nations League unless Brendan goes on a suck streak with Leeds.
And he's not. He's starting every game and playing either the whole game or at least 70 minutes. So, but we'll see. That would be really devastating for the Aaronson family. I'm sorry, we've dropped Brendan, but we're going to take Paxten. Sorry. But you know what? His dad always said Paxten will end up being the better player. Man, why is my dad saying that? If I was Brendan, I'd be like, shut the fuck up, motherfucker.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Why are you saying that, dude, to the press? Come on, dude. Mm-hmm. Don't say that.
So if you had a stake your apartment on a result here, where do you think Paxton's going to end up in the summer?
In the summer, I'm going to say he goes back to Frankfurt, and they either loan him or sell him to either a promoted Bundesliga team or a team in the top, like say, or the bottom 10 that are looking for fresh blood and a fresh perspective in their midfield. And I think that'd be a good spot for him. And there are plenty of teams that can use it, by the way, in the bottom 10 of the Bundesliga. Seriously. In the bottom 8 for sure.
Yeah, because you mentioned recently promoted. I'm guessing you mean like being promoted from Bundesliga 2 that season.
Yep.
Man, I mean, if I were Paxten, I would not want to gamble on that. Because that would be almost a surefire, unless your contract says, hey, if we get relegated, I'm out,
Yeah, I think that's something you always have to take into consideration. And there are always those clauses, by the way, that allow you to escape, i.e. his brother, Brendan Aaronson from Leeds. But I think if you could listen, the problem with that is there are teams that we've seen who have been diehard, steadfast, fucking Bundesliga teams for decades, like Schalke,
sure,
who now suck. So you could say, well, I'm going to go to fucking Wolfsburg. But Wolfsburg next season could get.
There was a season where they were close to getting relegated recently.
They could go down. Hoffenheim, they could go down. It's very possible. Teams like that have been very close to going down. So You could say, let's say Holstein Kiel or Paderborn. Let's say Paderborn gets promoted. You're going to say, I'm not going to go play for Paderborn. They're going to pay me a lot of money, but I'll go play for, Hoffenheim. Who's got a bigger chance of getting relegated? Probably Paderborn, but you never know. Look at what Heidenheim did last season. So, yeah.
Well, it's all possible, but maybe you look at a team like I'm going to throw out a U.S. favorite in this sense. When I say U.S. favorite, I guess very limited U.S. players on there, but somebody like Gladbach.
Yeah.
But then again, there have been seasons where Gladbach were straddling that relegation line too.
Well, they were certainly tempting it, but I'd say generally they've been more secure than, say, Hoffenheim.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you just never know what you're going to get, because I'm sure McKennie didn't think Schalke was going to get, relegated anytime when he was there, but they were. So there you go. And now Schalke, who for decades was one of the best clubs in Bundesliga, are sort of a shadow of their former selves. So it's a crapshoot is what I'm saying. You got to make your pick. You got to know you're going to go and get a chance to be the starter and get to compete to be the starter. And I think that's what you're looking for, whether it's a newly promoted club with promise or, one of those teams that might be hovering down there and fighting for survival. But the great thing about Germany is you always have the promotion relegation playoffs if you're the third worst team, or not the third worst, the first worst team out of three, right? You get to play a playoff and survive your relegation. And the team that managed to win that game, I believe it was Heidenheim, didn't do. Anyhow, the point is, it's a crapshoot. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into too much detail there. All right. Tyler Adams, absolute tank, 90 minutes, 10 duels, 3 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 fouls, 2 chances created, Captain America. All I've read so far is he was great. I couldn't watch it because those fuckers on Peacock didn't have it available. That's why I pay for the subscription, that I can watch all the Premier League games. Apparently, I don't get to watch that one for whatever reason.
Was it on NBC somewhere?
It was on USA.
Okay. What a bitch.
They own USA. That's practically NBC. Just fucking put the replay of the game up, you fucking cocksuckers.
Yeah.
Fuckers.
No, so why would I'm sure it'll eventually end up on Peacock. So at some point you probably couldn't go and watch it. Look at the stats though here, because obviously they beat Tottenham 1-0.
Yes,
that's a good win.
He went 90.
Yeah, but Bournemouth had 21 shots in their 34% possession. So clearly they were very much counter ball.
Yep.
Counter.
It's quite efficient on their part. And Tyler fits right into that kind of ball.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for them. And what's really crazy, since he's been healthy, they eased him in at the beginning, and then they eased him in more. And then they're like, no, you're starting now. You're starting every game, and you're playing 90. 90.
Hopefully this is a good sign moving forward.
I did get to watch the last one. I think he looks sharp as fuck. And he's doing all the things that we give him credit for being great at, which is cutting down lanes, destroying counters or destroying attacks, cutting off angles, tackling, being a total fucking bulldog. Like, it's all the things that Bournemouth were hoping they were going to get from Tyler Adams when they signed him, and it's what they're getting from him now. So, everybody wants to shoot shit on a guy. They don't think that good. He seems to be a pretty good goddamn Premier League player. That's all I got to say.
Not only that, but we've sat here for like the last couple of years talking about how the team's lacking that heart, that grit. Now, of course, those last couple of years, Tyler's been injured, but everybody like harps down on, not everybody, but people harp down on Adams, saying like, oh, his faults. The point of the games where he's not that great at, X, Y, and Z. But they're missing out on the biggest thing he brings, and it's that bulldog mentality inside that midfield that just destroys the opposition's attack.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting seeing if he comes back, and obviously in March, if he's still healthy, a guaranteed start, I imagine.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't see how you can leave him out. He's just.
I mean, him and Weston have a great chemistry anyway, so I imagine that's going to be the pairing there in the midfield.
Well, what it does is allow you to have, instead of having to have two midfielders sit in front of the back four or the back two, whatever you want to call it, back three, you can have one guy sit in front of the back four, and everybody else can go play offensive ball because that guy can sniff out a fucking tackle and a lane and destroy and disrupt the other team's attack immediately. And that just gives you one more player who doesn't have to play defense in front of the back two or the back three or the back four, depending on how you're set up. Yeah.
Imagine it's back three until Des gets back. Then it's going to be back two. And we'll see how that works out. we'll just be on a super duper attack mode at that point.
Yeah, and then, of course that'll all depend on who we play.
Playing. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
It'd be absolutely nuts if he comes out against the top teams and tries that. Which it could work. It could work out for us, but it could also backfire real bad too.
I mean, if you're playing Pulisic as the CAM in a 4-2-3-1, then your two is McKennie and Adams. It certainly gives McKennie more freedom to just roam forward, knowing that Adams is back there covering all of that.
Well, and remember, at least in the last match, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the move going forward, you have Jedi stepping up as well.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes he gets more into the attack other times, but he was running the behind Tessman. Tessman was able to move up when Jedi pushed up.
So you'd end up looking at a 3-2 in the back, right? So you've got the two center backs plus Scally, who's not going forward. And then you have Jedi tucking in to play center defensive mid alongside of Adams. I mean, can it get any better? I mean, that's just what you want. And so that allows McKennie more freedom to move forward. And you got all the guys in the attack that you ever wanted. And so, I mean, the real competition here is for that right wing spot, that right midfielder / right back / right winger spot that Moose is playing right now. But I think that Poach has been very, very flattering, used flattering language about Musa. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to take this a day at a time.
It's 2 windows in at this point at that spot. And he's got a goal to his name, of course, but aside from that goal.
Yeah, no. I mean, he was great against Real Madrid, Musa. But listen, there was obviously an issue with him and his mentality in the final third. He does not lift his head. He does not find the right guy. He does not get into the box and do damage. There's something right there that I think it's almost mental at this point. I really do.
Sure. Yeah, and somebody we had this conversation going on with Gio, and if Gio gets back, where's he when he's healthy and playing at Dortmund, where does he fit in this Poach lineup? And I said basically with a Weah, Pulisic, and Gio trio up there, trying to assign an actual position to them is just for the graphic. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just so you can post something on the internet saying here they are. Because those 3 players are not going to be in that position at any time during that game.
Yeah, a lot of flip-flopping around in this new Poach era of freedom.
So
right?
That's the thing. It's like, oh, where's Gio going to play? Well, he'll take Moose's position. Well, geez, when you put him on the right, he's isolated out there. I'm like, well, it's not Berhalter ball anymore. We're not really forced to stay in our spots, or this is your spot right here. Don't leave it. Don't leave it. How else are we going to do the horseshoe ball? Don't leave that spot.
Right. T chimes in, says Jedi is awful. Guess you missed the game today.
What? This is the weirdest group of people. I know. Colin said he doesn't like Jedi. He doesn't rate him for certain reasons. That's his prerogative. You guys can have your opinion and stuff like that, but that's got to be the toughest one to argue.
It's got to be really tough, which is why
tough to argue.
T is usually referred to as terrible. A terrible opinion. But hey, you're welcome to it, my brother.
Football's technical ability. I don't care if you are an amazing player, can't control a ball.
He looked pretty good today. Oh, and most of the games this season.
I think Jedi's biggest loss as a player is his ability to not cross the ball.
But he
aside from
fixed
that,
it. He fixed that, Brett.
yeah, those low crosses are the way we've been seeing that for years. I'm like, dude, just low cross that, pass it across the box.
I mean, he figured it out, and he had how many assists last season? 8, something like that. So from 0 the season before, yes, Jedi has his faults. He's not a perfect player, but do you really need in an era when it's so hard for any team to find a fucking left back? You know how hard it is to find left backs, and now you want a fast one who's also technical. Like, of course, he's not super technical, but he's fine. He's good enough for the Premier League, and he's one of the best left backs in the Premier League. So take that for what you will. If you said who's the most technical player in the Premier League, he would be very low on the list, obviously. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about left backs in the Premier League.
We're talking about practice.
They're rare. First of all, left backs, good ones.
Left-footed left backs.
Left-footed left backs are rare and hard to find. And he's one of the best there is in the Premier League this season and last season. So if you don't like that and you think he sucks because he doesn't meet your very, tight agenda or definition of what a player should be, maybe you need to kind of adapt your opinion to reality, which is he's been very effective in the Premier League. And people from all over Europe think very highly of Jedi Robinson. They just do.
Speaking of left backs, I figured I'd trigger you and then go back to that super chat in just a second.
Yeah, Nathaniel Brown thing's pissing me off, dude. I still think that he needs a phone call immediately. Somebody needs to be reaching out to Nathaniel Brown to let him know, hey, we're interested. You may not be interested in us. You let us know when you're interested. But we want to let you know we're watching. We're watching. Okay? We're watching. So you call us and let us know when you're interested.
So, we're interested. You let us know.
Just
walk away at that point. Mic drop, walk away.
Yep. No begging.
I did my due diligence.
No pleading. And by the way, some more great stuff sent to me by Mr. Note on my private messages here on Twitter. And I mean, it's clarifying the rules as they are in FIFA. He's eligible. So there's no doubt. Thank you. End of story. Julian Vivas, 199. Aaronson should replace Tillman. Which Aaronson?
Well, Paxten, since Brennan's technically on the team already.
Thanks for 199, Julian. We do appreciate it. I would imagine you're talking about Paxten. They're really not the same kind of players. I mean, but maybe like Paxten Aaronson's not being asked to play that attacking midfield role for Utrecht. They're playing kind of as a box-to-box guy, playing in a 4-2-3-1. But I wouldn't mind seeing it. I'm just not ready to give up on Tillman quite yet. I think Tillman has been really good for PSV, and I think that people call him lazy when he's not really lazy. He plays the same way for PSV that he plays for the U.S. men's national team.
It's the same argument I've had with a number of people today about Gio. So,
yeah, he's not lazy. People take all languid players as lazy. Like, was Gerrard lazy? No, not for Liverpool. He wasn't. Was Lampard lazy? No, he wasn't. Was your boy at Juventus lazy? What's his face?
Pirlo?
Pirlo? Was he lazy? No. None of those guys were lazy. They were languid. There are other players we have listed as languid on this, but they're not lazy players.
As one of the guys I was having a conversation with, and so was Edgar, I believe, at the same time, but he was quick to point out that the majority of teams don't play with a classical 10 anymore, so you can't be a classical 10 midfielder and still expect to move up the ranks.
I would agree with that. And our classical 10 is going to be Pulisic going forward. If Poch is, given us several clues that that's what's going to happen going forward. And that you're going to...
Yeah. I was saying, like I said, if you threw Gio in for Moose at that point, even though it's on the quote-unquote roster or the formation, the graphic that everybody throws up saying, here's our team, I guarantee you that there are going to be times when Weah is out on the right. And Gio's pushed in center, Pulisic's out left. It's going to be a rotation complete. It's not going to be like, Gio, you're in this quadrant of the field. Do not leave. This is you. It's not like that anymore.
Right.
Hopefully it's not like that anymore.
So a couple issues here. Number one, I agree with Jasper, by the way. He said he's not lazy. I don't think Tillman's lazy. I don't think he's lazy at all, actually. No. He's languid, so we already took care of that. But I did want to say for the 203 of you here, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. The 203 of you here from Twitter and YouTube. Thank you for showing up on a Thursday night. T says for $5.99. By the way, no offense, T. We weren't trying to offend you either. We were just disagreeing. Of course, I was exaggerating. He is not awful, but Jedi is like an NFL player playing soccer, amazing athlete. He is an amazing athlete, but I do think you're denigrating some of his skills. As a Fulham, long time, since the early 2000s, supporter of Fulham, and watching him and his game develop over, the last 5 years especially. Yeah, I used to think that about him too. I don't anymore based on the last 2 years. I think he's developed some skills. He still has a rough time in tight spaces. That we will agree on. A rough time in tight spaces sometimes.
Thanks again, T. Appreciate that.
And that's why you shouldn't put him in tight spaces. And guess who used to always put him in tight spaces? Berhalter. Berhalter did that. Now he doesn't play in tight spaces anymore.
Yeah, that left offensive third was just a clusterfuck of constipation.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's free flowing.
So that's the solution. Go ahead.
So here's Labrador says you can be languid.
It's languid, but that'll work.
If you turn it on at the right times like Leo. But Tillman seems just like Eeyore around the U.S. men's national team and doesn't seem the same for PSV. That's what
I know. I've watched almost every PSV game this season, and he does look kind of the same, honestly. I think the other thing is for him is I don't think he really knows how to fit into the system yet for Poach. And I think Poach found that very frustrating as well, because he took him out there as another holding midfielder, and then eventually he's like, fuck it, this isn't working, and had to move him up to center attacking midfielder. That wasn't working much. Yep. So, he's going to have to figure it out. I do think Tillman's a very skilled player. I think he will mature, he will evolve. And until he does, it's going to give opportunities to other players. We just got to figure out who those guys are. But I think he's still going to make the team. He's just not going to play much. Simple as that.
Just depends, I guess when we're talking about March, obviously we got, roughly 3 months until that to occur.
Yeah.
A lot can change. And Tillman might find himself on the outside looking in.
He might. He just, he'll have to continue to play ball out at PSV. But more than that, when he gets into camp, he's going to have to show something like that he understands how this rotational system works, because it was working great when he wasn't in there. It didn't look so hot after Cardoso went down and he got in there. It didn't seem to work as well. So he seemed a little lost, to be honest with you. He seemed lost. I don't think it was as horrible as everybody was saying it was, but he did look a little lost at times. Yep.
And now, obviously, with Gio getting back into full health, getting bit minutes right now, but hopefully over the course of time here, we start seeing more than just bit minutes, or at least consistency to the bit minutes, 2025 or something like that.
Is this where we want to address Tact?
Yep. Oh, I don't have Tact's tweet.
I know. No, it's not a tweet. It's a show.
Okay.
And he said Reyna needs a move in the winter. No, he doesn't. And he better not. First of all, I want to reiterate that Dortmund have no intentions at this point in loaning him out again in the winter or selling him. They just don't.
The big question. Yeah, he's speaking from a U.S. men's national team standpoint and from the best case scenario for Gio type standpoint.
That's not even the best scenario for him.
He needs to get at this point. Maybe I'm not saying in the winter, but definitely in summer. I think at that point he needs to reevaluate and he needs to get out of Dortmund. If anything, to get away from that medical
summer.
That's That's what
So-
not winter, but summer. So
he just got back, and he just got back from injury, and they're already throwing him in. And yes, it's bit minutes, but eventually he will start. He will play some games.
And the big question is what type of loan would I'm guessing loan, because there's no transfer going to happen this winter for him. Because who the hell is going to become knocking at this point?
Not
he literally
even
just got
Forrest.
back from. He just got back. He just got back from injury. He's got 13 minutes to his name since
Nobody's
then.
nobody's
coming knocking.
No
for him. And
one's knocking.
If it is, it's going to be for a loan. But even then, who's going to knock and what's Dortmund going to request this time?
I'm
if
sure
there's no buyout purchase. I think they've witnessed the worst already for that.
I'm sure Tack realizes with as many injuries as Reyna's had recently, there is no fucking way any big team is coming along and putting $12 million on that kid. No way. And that is his current transfer market value, down from 40 million. Like, Dortmund is going to take a $30 million loss on this kid. If they sell him for 8, if they sell him for under 12, they've totally just lost somebody who was worth $40 million at one point.
Technically, they're still in the positive from what they paid for him, which is
right.
nothing of anything.
But it's a far cry from the 40 million he was worth on transfer market before. And so what I'm telling you is every intention at the beginning of the season by the Dortmund board and everyone that why they hired Sahin was to play the young players more and boost back up their market value, because that's what Dortmund are, a selling team. You can't bring in a player who was at one time worth 40 million and then not play him so much, and then the injuries that now he's worth 12. Now that he's back, they're playing him. Not much. They're going to ease him in. They're going to ease him in and ease him in. Don't leave him the winter. Play the full season out.
As Judgmental Deity says here, Dortmund is going to take a loss anyways on Reyna. But that's the point. The point is that the loss is going to be mitigated by if he comes out and he starts performing for Dortmund, all of a sudden he goes from whatever he is now, whatever is like 14 to 18 or whatever on the market value.
12.
He's going to pay for. Is it 12 now?
It's 12.
And the idea would be that it bounces back up a little bit.
Yes, they're looking to bounce
they recoup a little bit of that loss.
So what they're looking for after the winter, Dortmund, is that he gets complete health and fitness. They get to play him 30 minutes a game, then maybe 45 at halftime, or maybe they play him 60 eventually, or 70. He gets some starts. They need to boost that value from 12 to about 20, 16, 20. And if Reyna can come in and produce some moments of magic like he did a few seasons ago, then they can boost that value back up to 20 and then sell him. That's what they want to do. They do not want to sell Reyna at 10 million. No, that's a loss, a super loss for a player that used to be worth 40. They're losing $30 million on that. They've also said the same thing, the board at Dortmund, about other young players at the club who are getting more time this season, by the way. So I think we'll see that. I mean, depending on how the season goes, and as long as Sahin can survive, because right now there were calls for his head at Dortmund already. So we'll see what happens. I think you're not going to see Reyna just left last winter. How did that work out? He's not going to do that again unless there is some team, some crazy ass team with a lot of money thinks he's the future. And they're willing to spend that $12 million on Reyna, despite his injury history recently. No. Who's that crazy team? Someone tell me who that crazy team is. Fiorentina? Who? Who's going to do Udinese? Who's going to pour that kind of money? I don't even know if Udinese's in the first division anymore. But who's going to spend that kind of money to bring in a player with the injury history that he has? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if it does, I will eat crow.
Could you see a scenario where a team doesn't care about a buy-on clause for a loan and simply wants to pick up a potential player that might push him forward into, a Champions League spot or keep him in it, sort of like Utrecht?
No. First of all, I don't think they could afford him on loan. It will have to be a Premier League team or one of the top 5, 6 Italian teams or one of the top. Yeah, it's just people don't understand what Dortmund are going to ask for this kid.
Tom says Chicago. Yeah, we just lost our center tech mid. So
you've got to also keep in mind that Dortmund have poured countless amounts of money into this kid in rehab and otherwise. Mm-hmm. They want to get him healthy, and they want to get him out there for a significant amount of time to show this player is still the top class player you used to think he was before the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately what's going to end up happening if Reyna can stay healthy, I think some team's going to get a hell of a deal in the end.
If he can stay healthy next summer, someone might be able to get a good deal. Yeah, for sure.
I'm saying they're gonna get it if he can remain healthy moving forward. Say, let's put this injury history in the past. It's gone, done with, whatever. If he can remain healthy moving forward, I think whatever team's going to come snatching him up in the summer is going to get a hell of a deal for a good player. That's all I'm saying.
No, I think you're right. Yeah. But if he does something spectacular, though, after the winter break is over in the Bundesliga and they come back and he gets to start 2 or 3 games and he does something amazing, well, who knows? But it's him having to leave in the winter. I just disagree with that. I don't think, A, it's going to happen. And B, I don't think it's necessary. Let's let the Dortmund plan work itself out now that he's finally back and healthy and he's getting some bit minutes. And as he gains fitness, we might see, especially the way Dortmund are playing without him on the field. Yeah.
I don't think Leon could afford buying anybody at this
right
point.
Now. They can't.
Yeah. They're saying au revoir as they're heading down to League 2.
They're probably going to be penalized down to League 2. Yes,
but I mean they're sitting like 430 million or something like that.
Yep,
530 million or whatever it is in
debt. Yep.
Oof. They ain't buying nobody.
No, PSG. Excuse me. Leon is in major financial stress and problems. It's bad. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's that issue. How about Booth? Booth.
Nope. We'll talk about Booth in a sec. We're still on Gio here.
Really? Why?
Yeah, of course. I told you about it. We're going to cover this topic.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to come back to Gio later. That just seems weird as far as the progression of the show.
Yep.
So, have you watched this clip?
No.
Or have you watched the snippet clip that they posted on Twitter?
No.
Oh. Then this will be interesting. You tell me when to stop, okay?
All righty.
Right. So
about Gio, what's
well, I mean, Gio's frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is Tim. We have this conversation sometimes. When I talk to young players, and this is both the men's and the women's side, I hear the same comment all the time. Mm-hmm. I want to go to Europe. Mm-hmm. I want to play in Europe. Yeah. I want to play in Europe.
Oh boy.
One, what the hell does that mean, right? Because Europe could be Latvia. Europe could be, like
they probably mean one of the big four.
Well, it could be a third.
Okay, I see where this is going, but I just wanted to break it up so we didn't get clobbered.
Yep.
You could be in Luxembourg. You're still in Europe. So what does that mean? First of all, define that for me.
Nobody's talking about Luxembourg.
If young promising players are coming up to you and saying, "I want to play in Europe," I mean,
they're not talking about Luxembourg.
You could have at least been realistic on that. Like, what are you talking about? Austria, Belgium, Denmark?
Yes, that would have been better.
Been more realistic of a thing to say.
Nobody's talking about playing in Latvia. Come off it. Come on, Landon. I know he's exaggerating, but that kind of exaggeration does not help his argument at all.
Yeah. So.
And then in a case like Gio, great, you signed with Borussia Dortmund, right? Like, great, you went on loan to Forest. You don't play soccer. Like he's. I used to hate this.
Okay, hold on. He played a whole season of soccer before the injuries started happening. If I'm correct, he used to play alongside Holland pretty routinely.
No, he played a full season almost had I think it was just about 2,000 minutes for that season. So he wasn't a consistent starter every match, but he was a consistent starter most of the matches.
Yep.
And he was looking good. That's when he was flying high at 40 million.
Yep.
40 million. Then he goes off
mil.
in the summer. He goes off in the summer to play in actually technically September to play in a World Cup qualifying match. Goes up lame.
Yep.
And that was the beginning of the end at that point. I mean, it's the history. I mean, he's still young, and obviously it's not the end, but that's to this point, basically. But yeah, so he's leaving a lot of details out of the story. And I have to keep telling people about this. I mean, it's not like, and he'll go into this a little further, but it's not like Gio went there, rode Pine, and now he's still riding Pine. He went there, and his first full season at Dortmund, because he made the move over when he played with the 2 team or whatever, and younger squads.
For a very short amount of time.
Then he's playing for the big boys.
Almost immediately.
Until he's injured. And he's still working through all this nagging injury that's just being a royal pain in the butt.
I mean, Donovan's pretending he was never good enough to play for Dortmund in the statement. That's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. He played almost a full season with Dortmund, was not a regular starter, but an almost every 2 out of 3 game starter, or 1 out of every 2 games, 50% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was called the Great American Dream by his teammate and good friend Holland, and they were having one hell of a fucking season together. So don't pretend he wasn't good in the Bundesliga at his very young age that he was at the time. This is a fucking joke, right? He's pretending he went there and he was over his head the whole time. That's basically what he's saying.
I do want to preface this, and we'll see the clip as he expounds upon it. But his overall arcing point is that these young players just want to go to Europe when it might be better for a good number of them, a healthy good number of them, to stick out the first couple of years, 2-3 years in MLS, and then make the jump over to Europe.
Okay, fine.
X amount of games on there. But the problem is he brings up Gio, and it's a bad example because Gio went there as a young player and almost practically just jumped right into the starting, Not practically, close enough.
This whole idea, which he continues to push, is that players, a lot of these guys just need to realize that going to Europe is just not the answer. Okay, but guess what? If it isn't the answer, they can still fucking come home and play in fucking MLS or USL. It's not like their career. I don't know what to say.
So here's another example of one we're seeing in live action right now. Would it be better? Would it have been better for Albert to have stuck it out with LA Galaxy's 2 team and possibly get pushed up into the first team moving forward here?
Who?
Matthias Albert.
Oh, that kid's great.
Or is it better for him to be playing with Dortmund's U19s and then likely here shortly be moved up to the second team and progress that way at Dortmund? So the big question is it's not every player probably should make the jump as far as from a career standpoint, because we've talked about this a lot. How many young players go to Europe and completely flame out, and they come back to US, MLS, USL, and they're just there are a lot of players that probably could have had a better career as a whole if they would have started off in the smaller pond.
I mean, this is just freaking idiocy.
This is a bad example, is the thing. It's just a bad example.
We're basically, what he's saying is that anyone who comes over and fails, they never had a chance in the first place. You got to go freaking try, dude. This is fucking stupid.
Well,
him saying that is basically just almost like an excuse for his own career, right? For a long time, never trying. Of immediately leaving Germany and coming back to the MLS because he couldn't fucking handle it. Well, other guys want to try it too, Landon. Let them try it. And if they don't, they can do what you did. Come back to the United States and play in USL and MLS. It's fucking audacious for him to continue to push this narrative.
What's interesting, what some people don't address, and he kind of talks about this, is you go for a couple of years as a young player and then you make the move to Europe, but sometimes you're not offered that option again. You get that I know Jordan Morris got another option, but he had an option to go. Oh, let's use Louis Gill. Prime example here.
Should have gone.
He opted not to go to Arsenal, and yeah, he probably would have just got loaned out and probably wouldn't have panned out at Arsenal, but maybe he would have had a career somewhere else. Take that chance, but then he never got that opportunity ever again.
Ever again. You got to take the chance when you. This is a fallacy. This whole thing that the whole idea that he's pushing here that Reyna wasn't above his head. He was wherever his head going to Dortmund in the first place, and he should come back to him wherever he wants him to go. It's a fallacy. This argument is fallacious. Sorry, probably the word I was looking for before. But this is freaking stupid, and it needs to stop. And why he keeps pushing this at us, I don't understand it. But I do think it's personal for him because of his own career.
So, I come from this from two different angles. I mentioned earlier that my personal opinion is if you get the opportunity, you should take it because you might not ever get that opportunity ever again. But I can also understand his take on this is that there are a lot of players that probably would have and still or would have had a much better career, maybe not necessarily men's national team caliber, but they would have had a better career as a whole if they would have, started in MLS and work their way up, and then if they get their opportunity, take it, but otherwise be journeyman within MLS. But
not anymore, Brett. Nobody's going to become a journeyman in MLS and be a U.S. men's national team player.
No, they wouldn't be. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't be a U.S. men's. Most likely would not be a U.S. men's.
Most people dream high. They have high hopes for themselves. That's why they go to Europe, to give it a shot. And none of them are going to Latvia. None of the ones that are good are going to Latvia or Luxembourg. So this is a laugh. The guys that are going over there are going to the Bundesliga. They're going all over the place in Europe, Holland, whatever, the good ones. They're not going to Latvia and Luxembourg. That's why he defeats his own point here. Like, these kids have a right to do whatever the hell they want, but the main fact, the main argument he's making about Reyna here is absolutely ludicrous. It's laughable. It's jackassery of the highest order, honestly. That he was never really good enough for Dortmund anyhow. Oh, well, great. You went to Dortmund. Oh, well, that's special. Well, you don't play. Well, he did play. He was playing. And then he got injured. So you're the jackass, not him.
Yeah, and there were certain like I said, I've had conversations about Gio all day today with people, and they're like, because people are like, well, he's good. He's shown that he's good enough for a top 5 league.
Okay,
so like, well, he was brought into a relegation bound team in a top 5 league, and see how well that worked out. And I'm sitting there having to go do the breakdown for everybody. I mean, I don't want to make an excuse for Gio in this sense, but I mean, half of his career in Europe has been injured.
Okay,
so it's a completely there's context behind it.
So Colin's saying I'm making up an argument. No, I'm not. He just said it. You want to replay it? What he just said? Replay it. He just basically said, "Oh, great, you went to Dortmund, and you don't play."
Like
they'd probably be one of the big four.
Well, it could be a third division club in Portugal. You could be in Luxembourg. You're still in Europe. So what does that mean? First of all, define that for me. And then in a case like Gio, great, you signed with Borussia Dortmund.
Oh, there we go.
Like, great, you went on loan to Forest. You don't play soccer.
Okay, there we go. Great, you signed with Dortmund. Great, you signed with Nottingham Forest. You don't play soccer. That's basically saying he was never good enough to be in Dortmund in the first place. I'm sorry. Is that not what he's intimating? Brett, help me out here. Sounds like that's what he's intimating to me.
When I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about this, the beginning of our conversation of this portion, is that he's leaving out all the context. The fact that he did play for a full year prior to his injury, and then he came back, and there's other circumstances that prevented him. Some of them might be self-inflicted. I don't know. But, he came back after his injury, had a great second half of that season, and was a great super sub. I think he scored something like 7 goals or something like that. And then the very next season, at the beginning of the year, Terzic's not playing him at all. And he says, I don't respect his. I don't believe he has good defensive capabilities. I don't respect it.
So
then he requested a loan. He went to Forest, where he where Nuno didn't want him, Forrest really didn't want him. And he didn't really play because even if he was competitively playing, he was against Morgan Gibbs-White, which was going to be a tough hill to climb up regardless.
That's all the context. Yes.
And then he's back here now, and things were better. He was actually getting some minutes. Again, it's bit minutes, but then he got injured again.
The whole point of going over to Europe as soon as you possibly can, and at the youngest age you possibly can, is to develop in the Dortmund system, like Pulisic did, to develop as young as you can in the Dortmund system or whatever top quality system you can develop in Europe. You don't need to prove yourself in MLS. You go over there as a top prospect, you develop in their system and prove yourself, like Reyna quickly did, and moved up to the big boy team. But everybody got to stay in the United States until they're 18? Is that the new rule? I haven't heard that rule. That's a new rule. I haven't heard of it. Or
it is if you don't have a passport.
Sure. If you don't, that's what you got to do. I.e., Sargent had to do that. Wait till he was 18 years old to go to Werder Bremen. But I think that he would still say his time at Werder Bremen was very helpful for him, even though he was already 18. But if you're Reyna and you're Pulisic, you can go there earlier. And a lot of the kids that we see over there right now in the Dutch systems, club systems, are like 16, 17, 18 years old in the Bundesliga. They're 17, 16, 18, under 18. Why not? Go over there as early as you can and get the right kind of training and development that you're going to really need if you want to succeed. Will most of them fail? Absolutely, most of them will fail.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a reason not to do it. Anyhow, sorry.
Let's continue. Let's hear the rest of his argument here.
All right.
I used to hate this. Like, you're a soccer player. You're not a soccer practicer, right? Or you're not a soccer contracted person. You're a soccer player. Like, do you want to play soccer or not? And now I know injuries with Gio, but I just get so sick of this bullshit. Like, I want to play in Europe. I want to play. And if people crap on MLS all the time, and I get it and whatever, guess what? Gio Reyna in MLS would have played 300 games by now.
No, because he would have gotten injured anyhow. He could have gotten injured here just as much as he would have gotten injured anywhere else. He got injured in the U.S. men's national team camp.
Thank you. I was literally about to say that. That's the context that's missing here. When Gio was healthy at Dortmund before the injury, he was playing. And quite frankly, just looking at his transfer market and stuff like that, and of course, some of this is his youth performances as well, but that's only like a total of like 15 games, 16 games. He's played a total of 151 games. Yep. And that's including his time at Forest as well. But he's played a total of 151 games. And that's including the fact that he's been injured for half of his career. If he wasn't injured, he'd be up to 300 games in the Bundesliga at this point.
For sure.
So this is why I said I can see what Donovan's trying to say here. But what I don't agree with is this argument with Gio is a bad example. It does not prove his point.
No, it's a horrible example.
No, that's my biggest beef with this whole thing. Again, I always say that, if you get the opportunity, go, take it. Go, But that's not to bash MLS by saying that, but I'm saying you may not ever get that opportunity again.
Absolutely.
While you get it.
We don't sit on here bashing MLS day after day. We just don't do it. We do say there are going to be very few players in the MLS on further U.S. men's national team rosters for good reason. We've got a really good row of players out there playing in Europe right now. And what, you going to tell a lot of them they shouldn't have tried it? They had to be 100% that it was going to work? It's ridiculous. And by the way, again, if Reyna were healthy and Dortmund, he would have a lot more games under his belt than he has right now. Mm-hmm. It's the injuries that hurt his career. So and this whole Luxembourg thing, it's just nonsense. Just nonsense. But anyhow.
Yeah. Hopefully he would have been fit. He's 20.
We love Donovan here, by the way. We love him as a player. He's a fucking, legend. U.S. men's national team legend. To me, to my son, to most of us that have been following this game. but some of his commentary is just so off the mark. It's frustrating to watch. But go ahead.
Maybe then you go to Europe, somewhere in Europe and play. But it's just frustrating. Guess what? Gio Reyna in MLS would have played 300 games by now.
Yeah.
Hopefully would have been fit. He's 20 and he would have been flying. Maybe then you go to Europe, somewhere in Europe and play. But it's just frustrating because a guy that talented, a lot of people who are inside the camp say that is the most talented player.
100%.
Okay, hold on.
Gio's
Wasn't it? Remember when we heard that there were no MLS teams? His dad said this. Interested in Christian Pulisic because he was too small.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no guarantee you're going to play.
Yeah,
Look how long Diego Luna had to fight to even get to play.
Yeah.
In MLS. Look how long he had to go play with the Monarchs before he got to play. Like, you were acting and pretending like young players. There's just this massive plethora of young players, American players, to get to play in MLS. It's a ridiculous notion. Look at the MLS playoffs. There were fucking teams putting out lineups and rosters with 2 American players in the starting 11. And they weren't young. Any of them. So this whole idea you can fucking thrive here if you're a young American soccer player is fucking ridiculous, dude. And so just go ahead. Anybody who hasn't seen it, go check out the starting lineups of all the playoff rosters so far. Look how many Americans started.
Yep.
Scally, great point, BMR. Scally never even really played for New York City FC. And he went over to Germany and in a year was a regular starter for Gladbach.
I think it was like half of a season or
yes,
maybe even less than that.
So what did New York City FC not see in Scally that Gladbach immediately saw in Scally? And he got to play. And the Bundesliga is a way better league than MLS. Sorry. They just
crazy talk.
Top 5 league in the world. Anyhow.
Easily top 2 or 3, depending.
And he's not the only example, by the way. You could say the same thing about Paredes, really. He really could.
Play for DC, though?
Huh?
Did Paredes end up playing for DC, though? I did.
I'm not saying he didn't, but I don't think they ever considered him as like this long-term superstar, right? But went over to Wolfsburg, fit in, started getting games.
And here's another example, though. Look at a player like Andy Nahar. You know, he played, the shit out of with the Revs. Did he actually go? Did he go to Europe at all?
He did, and he played some games there.
I didn't realize he did. Never mind. Take that point back. That's a bad point. Just like this bad example of Gio.
Yeah, no, he played. Yeah, I mean, is Griffin Youst supposed to be, as John points out, is he supposed to be still picking his nose there in MLS? No, he's making a name for himself in Europe. That's all fucking ridiculous. This whole shows are ridiculous. I mean, I've liked the show so far, but this is the worst I have seen this show get. And I didn't watch it yet, so you're like putting me under the gun here.
Now you got to go back and watch the rest of it, because apparently I didn't watch it, but at the end they talk about Klinsmann again. Somebody asks a question and they go, "Oh, Klinsmann's a joke."
They took more shits on Klinsmann.
Yeah.
Which, listen, we've said our 2 parts about Klinsmann on this show, and why we don't think he's a great manager, and why still we think he did good things for U.S. soccer.
Well,
but they're taking major dumps on Klinsmann on this show.
So,
I mean, they're not stopping either.
Colin was telling me, I think it was this show. Might have been, I'm pretty sure it's this episode. But I think Colin was telling me that because he watched the show. I haven't watched this all. I had to scan through to find this clip. But he said that they talk about how Donovan will talk about like all during the practices and during the camp and stuff. We'll be practicing, a 4-2. I'm making up formations here, but 4-2-3-1. And then come game time, we play like a 5-2-3 or whatever, and it's just, and that's like, it sounds awfully familiar to when I was like, we were all saying, you and me were saying like, well, it just seems like every time his formation setups are just so whimsical that you never know what we're going to come out and play until the World Cup 2014 when he reverted back to our older style.
Yeah, he did. Listen, I've watched several shows so far from this show, and I've enjoyed them, but yeah, this is a little irritating, and like I'll get over it, but I just think he's just couldn't be more wrong. And I feel like these guys got together because I feel like they've been in continuous conversation with one another because they seem to share the same views on a lot of things. Like they don't argue a whole lot.
I'd say there's a lot of agreements. I'm not necessarily certain if it's sort of like sure, yeah, type of thing, or like I agree with you 100% on this. It could be that like he's like, but yeah, Gio, you just don't play. And Howard's like, yeah. But
I would have liked to
know
see
the context behind it, and that might not want to say it.
I would like to see some pushback on that. I think that's really unfair. Using Reyna as the example of why not all players need to go to Europe, to me, is the biggest fallacy, fucking ridiculous argument I've ever heard. He should have stayed in MLS and played 300 games. What? Why? He went to fucking Dortmund when he was whatever age he was, and he was starting games for Dortmund when he was goddamn 16, 17, whatever the age was. I don't even remember. So what the hell are we talking about here? Any other sport, Brett or Derek, wouldn't the fans have the right to question a player's decisions or true value if he's consistently injured and not playing when injured? Is any other sport where wouldn't the fans have the right to question a player's decision or true value if he is consistently injured? Can you interpret that for me, Brad?
Yes. 1 second. I was trying to look something up, but in a sport, wouldn't the fans have the right to question a player's decisions or true value if he's consistently injured or not playing when injured? So yeah, he's basically saying in any other sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever.
Okay.
If a player's injured, if he's injured, if his decisions, the fans can question whether a player's decisions of what team he's playing for, whether he's injured, should he be on the team at all, that type of thing. And basically he's saying, like, should we be able to question Gio's decisions or his abilities at this point because he's constantly injured or
often injured
or not playing?
I think you can't really question his ability. You might say the injuries are going to make his future not only availability but ability hampered. We've seen that so many times with players with injuries. Those injuries add up, and those players are no longer the players they used to be. So if those are these kind of injuries, then Reyna may never be. But it doesn't seem yet, and I don't have enough footage yet on Reyna since he's come back from this injury. Like this was a career hindering injury. I think this is still the same guy that can get back to the 100% he used to be at. I think you can criticize players sometimes, but if they're not taking care of themselves for being injured. But I don't think Reyna's one of those guys that's been a slacker. I think he loves playing soccer, and he's, by all accounts at Dortmund, taking care of himself and been available as much as he possibly can be. These seem like little quirky, weird ass injuries, like the kinds of like the hernias, the sports hernia type things that you get. And then you never really know. So I'm not going to blame him for being injured. He didn't want to be injured. He didn't really do anything to get himself injured. And some of the past injuries were done by opposition who tackled him and nearly crushed him and broke whatever bone it was in his body. So yeah, I don't blame him for that.
Labrador follows up by saying it just seems like a lot of people take it personally when anybody questions his talent projection. So I don't think Gio. I think Gio's overhyped. I don't think he's as good as people are leading on to, and then people are like dogpiling on top of that.
I think. Well, I get that. I think it's really hard to assess his ceiling now because it was on such a rise, and then there's been such a lull of him playing. Like so long, we haven't get to really see him day after day or weekend after weekend playing soccer. Like I need to re-believe in Reyna now. Like I need him to help me believe back in him again. I want to be able to believe that he can be what I saw he could be, early on at Dortmund. That's how I feel.
And I think a lot of that comes down in this sense right now is like, you know, he's in a decent position in the sense where the coach is, whether he really believes in Gio or the board is saying, hey, we need to get this guy's market value back up, is willing to at least play him when he's healthy.
Yeah.
So if he remains healthy and he gets playing time, at that point, it's less on the hype, less on the projection. At that point, Gio's got to do something with it.
Yes.
And we said that from the get-go this season, especially. We said it's his time. He's in a better situation now than he was the previous year. He's got to show up now. So if he doesn't show, he may never pan out the way we all projected him to. It's possible.
It is. But it's up all on him now. And we're not giving him any passes. If he goes out there and plays like shit, we're going to call it. So there it is.
Well, I think whenever he had the 12 minutes when he 2 games ago, I was like, hey, yeah, Gio came in at this minute. And you're like, how did he play? I'm like, it was a 5. I mean, he had 100%. He had 100% passing rate. He didn't really do anything really progress the ball forward. He was just moving the ball around. He was moving with the team. It looked fine, and it looked like a player that's on the mend. You know.
Yeah, I was just getting back in.
Yeah,
just trying to get into the.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
So,
all right, let's finish it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and if Dortmund continue to play like shit, you might see a lot more Reyna, because right now they need something, some spark, something. They need something. It's not.
Gio Reyna is. I think the frustrating thing is it's hard. Look, from everything you're saying, you and I balanced our careers differently, right? But we both had success. Balancing your career is hard, right? It's, do you go on loan? Do you take the money instead? And there is no real right answer. I think the frustrating part for me is, case in point, I just talked about the center backs, right? We don't produce Landon Donovans and Clint Dempsey's and these guys every day. I'm talking, and others. Special, and Claudio Reyna, his dad was a special player as well.
I'm going to pause just so we don't get hit really with it. I thought an interesting point he kind of made up the point there was that, hey, we both had success, club and nationally, but we did it differently.
Yeah,
Howard went to Europe. Donovan didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the talking point. But,
yeah. Does he say anything here that we need to see or hear? Or are we done with this?
Well, yeah. I don't know if he says anything else. Actually, I'm sure he does say something else. I'm sure there's a closing point here he'll make.
I guess.
I have faith. Let's listen for it real quick.
Well, U.S. doesn't have the luxury like Brazil. If you miss on one, so what? There's another one coming in the pipeline. And by the way, the guy who's 19, you better hurry up and have your success, because by the time you're 23, another Brazilian kid's going to take your spot. We don't have that luxury. So when you get a player like a Christian Pulisic or a Timothy Weah, Gio Reyna is special, man. He's special. He's got magic in his boots. He has a toughness and a doggedness about him that not every U.S. player has.
He's brash.
Yeah.
He's brash. Yep.
He's physically very gifted.
He's physically and he's nasty. He's got that nasty streak. He's got that dog in him that I love. And because of that, I want to see him play more. It's a little bit selfish. Like I want to see him play more. But again, I said it's so very difficult to manage those elements of your career, and it kind of ebbs and flows. My thought process would be.
I forgot.
Okay, this is going on too long.
Yeah, I was waiting for some final talking point he says there, but ultimately. Donovan's point. This the reason I really wanted to bring this up wasn't necessarily even Donovan's point to this point, but a lot of people on Twitter are coming out and saying are really not hyping, but saying that Donovan's saying that Gio should go to MLS now and play. But he doesn't actually say anything like that. Although people are like, well, he's kind of alluding that it's an option. You can always go and play in MLS. What I took from this is basically Donovan wanted to make a point about youth players skipping MLS and just going to Europe, and he should
to Luxembourg.
These players should look at it and say, hey, maybe I'll get a couple years of play and then I'll take my game to Europe, which doesn't really work in MLS.
That
per se.
Doesn't work like that. Like we pointed out here, young players in MLS struggle to get fucking playing time. So no, you're going to bust your potential that way. If you've got a passport, you definitely take your opportunity. You do not wait. And that's what most players of any quality are doing right now. And it's the smart thing to do, although it is a challenging thing to do because you're going to a different culture, a different people, a whole different surrounding. It's a massive challenge. But if you got the fucking nuggets to get through it and become a Pulisic or a McKenzie or a McKenny or a way, you go do it. You just go do it. Matthew for $5. It's telling that nobody is taking their take seriously when 2 U.S. soccer legends have only 2K subs. I think their subs will go up.
Oh, I guarantee it will.
I mean, yeah, they'll go up eventually. We see it, but you're right. I mean, I see a lot of views that are really low right now on a lot of soccer shows because right now there's not a lot going on, number one. And number two, there's not a whole lot of controversy. And we're all waiting. We're waiting, and we're going to have to wait till March because Camp Cupcake is bullshit. And we all know it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, for the most part. So, but thank you, Matthew, for the $5. So
to go off of that topic, so like I said, it's people have been posting a lot of stuff about it. You know, and Edgar says these motherfuckers get a little money from MLS and start saying things like this here. They keep wanting to hurt U.S. men's national team by wanting our players to play in low-level league instead of looking for better situations in Europe where the elite level is at.
Yeah, why would he come here? I mean, at the very worst, he'd go play for Lille or, somebody in Europe that plays in a legit top 5-6 league. I mean, he's not coming back here. It's a joke. And no, he should not have started here. He was right to make the move to Dortmund when he did, which was clearly, obviously panned out in the results when he became a starter for the team when Holland was there. And then the injuries did what they did. So, this is the stupidest argument I've ever heard. And, I love I enjoy the show so far. Don't enjoy Howard's articles so far. They're horrible. They're horrible articles.
They're not great.
Yeah, they're really bad. They're poor. If you're going to do politics, you better have a really great understanding of politics because your view is quite short-sighted and myopic. But anyhow,
I bring this tweet up because this is what ends up happening when you start hearing some of these former players coming out on the podcast and saying stuff. And I don't want to illustrate who's saying this to him because I feel like it's kind of just a troll. But
yes,
this happens enough where I feel like it warrants a small discussion on the sense. But he says, whose opinion should we trust? Landon Donovan, a 4-time footballer of the year, 188 professional club goals, tied for the most U.S. men's national team goals, or Edgar Reyna, tweets a lot about soccer, makes a really good-looking steak, and known MLS hater.
Whatever, dude.
But it's a fallacy. It's a argument from authority.
Yes.
Just because Donovan's been to the highest level doesn't mean that his opinion on this point stands.
And we take it back to this. So only politicians are allowed to have solid, well-founded, rounded opinions about policy. Only politicians, because you, Brett, are not a politician. You've never been in politics, and you don't know how politics works, so you don't get to have an opinion on policy. Fuck you. Yes, he does. Brett gets to have an opinion on policy, whether it's in Ukraine or wherever else. That's his opinion. He's a fucking American citizen, and he's probably, if he's got a good opinion, educated himself by looking at whatever, information's available, a wide variety of information available online or whatever. Nobody is an expert. I'm sorry. No professional player is an expert on soccer. And the smart ones will tell you that. Jimmy Conrad will tell you that. No one's an expert on soccer. Not players, not former coaches. We've had former coaches say the same thing. Nobody's an expert on soccer. Nobody's an expert on politics. We all get to have an opinion, and it's all based on the context of our experiences, not only as fans, but for us ex-players. Yes, we're ex-players too, so we get to have an opinion. Not pro players, not fucking U.S. men's national team players, but we certainly understand the game of soccer from the core roots all the way up to watching the sport at the highest level and starting our own fucking soccer team here in Indianapolis, a professional one. So we get some plaudits. We get some birth, all right, some girth as well. So,
well, I mean, it's the arguments we make, people can argue against, and we don't sit here and go like, "Nah, we got this really popular podcast, so we're cool. We know what we're talking about, right?" But just again, I don't think Donovan or Howard are saying that either. But there are people that are holding up saying like, "These guys did X, Y, and Z. What have you done?" I'm like, "Well, I watched it. I played it as a kid, and I watched a lot of soccer." So I feel like I have enough knowledge to at least say what I'm seeing. I might be wrong on some things.
You know what? Your answer could have been as simple as this: I jerked off 5 minutes ago. That's all I need. All right. Yeah. Listen, do we know people who make comments about soccer who obviously just got into the sport 2 or 3 years ago and don't have a lot of context? Sure. Okay. There are people that make those kind of comments, and sometimes they have no context for their comments. And then you give them context. You do your best. But to say that the average Joe, who maybe has been watching the team for a decade, maybe more, can't have an opinion on the team or player development, if that's something they've really been interested in and focused on, that's bullshit. Don't tell me Donovan's an expert on jack shit, except for Landon Donovan and his own personal experience playing for the U.S. men's national team. Because, by the way, the experience he experienced isn't going to be the same experience that Michael Bradley had when he played there. Isn't going to be the same experience that Pulisic's having right now. No, totally different experience, different coaches, different world, different systems, different setup, different formation, different player rotation. Everything's different. And we can all, those of us who have the long-term knowledge and context and watching this game from above for a long time, are able, I think, to have an opinion that's worth listening to. And if you don't think so, go fuck yourself and go live in a fucking cave somewhere. Because apparently the only way you're allowed to have an opinion is if you are a professional in that particular. So if you have a fucking commentary or criticism about bad architecture, well, you're not an architect. What do you know? Well, fuck you. I know ugly when I see it. So fuck off. There's that. There's that too. And when it comes to the same with soccer, I know ugly when I see it, period. All right. I think that's that on that. Oh, we got more. Okay. So Florin Balogun slightly injured. Oh, well.
Wait to just brush that off your shoulder there, Derek.
He'll be fine. It's a shoulder injury.
Well, I mean, he just dislocated his shoulder. He came back, and now he's got a pain in his shoulder from getting knocked.
They'll pop it back in. He'll be fine.
Well, he might not make the Saturday game against Toulouse, so
that's fine. He probably wasn't going to play anyhow.
It would be nice to see him, play up against.
Probably would have played 20 minutes, maybe 30. Who knows? He might have started. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Probably not starting more. Even if he's healthy, he's probably not going to start at least.
Because I still got Yanks Abroad to go through. So if you continue to pour this shit out, we're going to be here all night.
Well, we got Anrie Chase still, which what's a weird inclusion here. We've talked about Anrie a lot, and I asked for some news, and you said no news.
There really isn't any news. My point is this guy should be another guy that I can't even confirm we're chasing. Chase is his name, but this is a guy that should have gotten a phone call. At least by now. And if he hasn't gotten a phone call, and the only two guys that have gotten phone calls are Colioso and someone else. Because remember, Poach said he was in contact with numerous players who are dual nats. Who the fuck were these players? Because it wasn't fucking Nathaniel Brown. Was it Anrie Chase? Can we get any news on this? Because this guy not playing for the Japanese national team in the last two call-ups. He's playing for Stuttgart. He just fucking scored a goal this last game. He's What are we waiting for? Call this motherfucker up and say, hey, buddy, we like the cut of your jib. And if you're interested, we would like to have you play on our team someday. So give us a call back. Thank you. Signed, Poach. Beep. Hang up the phone. You know, that's all it would take. Who doesn't want to talk to Pochettino?
Hey, we'd like to bring you to camp and just see how you fit in with the guys.
I'm not asking, by the way, Greg, turd hauler, for him to suck their nutsack. I'm asking him to pick up the phone and call the dude and says, by the way, we're watching every Stuttgart game you play. We're pretty impressed. Just let us know if you're interested in playing for us. We'd like to hear from you. And
XOXO.
Blah, blah, blah. XOXO sounds. Whatever, you know? But at least let the dude know we care, right? We care. We're interested. We're watching. We're watching. We're monitoring you. Right? We're ogling you from a distance.
Even Japan's national team has to reach out to him and say, hey, we'd like to bring you in this window when he does get called in, of course. So, I mean, it's the same concept. We just got to say, hey, you know, if we're interested in bringing you in, you know, come see how it looks from the outside in.
Right.
Give it a Diego coaching treatment, right?
Right. Pink says, Derek, what are your sources before I tweet? Tweet what? Sources on what? What sources?
You said you can't confirm. So basically mean that even his sources aren't able to tell him whether or not he's been reached out to.
Yeah, I can't find any confirmation that he was reached out to. The only person I know for sure was reached out to was Coliocho. But then he said multiple players have been reached out to, multiple dual nats, and that some of them weren't really committed to America, and they'll just have to, you know, when they're really committed, then we'll be committed to them. But or whatever he said. Well, who are all these players? Is Anrie Chase one of these players? I want to know. Because if he isn't, we are practically or possibly missing out on a really, really solid fucking center back who just scored in his last game. And while not perfect during that game, by the way, which I watched, was pretty solid generally. Mm-hmm. Labradot says for $1.99, thank you, my brother. Can we get a D-Rec Xmas song and award ceremony? I'll work on that.
Jingle bells.
Jingle bells, my ball smell. Jingle all the way.
That would be something interesting to do for an easy clip is just have D-Rec do Christmas songs, and you could just have a picture of him like in a Christmas cap and everything, and just post those up. Easy content, Derek.
Yeah, jingle bells. We could do something like that.
You've already flexed out your vocal cords with your last performance, so
that's true. But I'd still do it in the D-Rec sound. So that's
100%. You better do it in D-Rec sound. I don't know. I don't want to hear you sing it.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Stick your dildo in my ass and call it just whatever idea. Something like that. Anyhow, we'll work on that. Something in my ass. All right, Greg Turdholder. Time for Yanks in Latvia and Luxembourg. Yeah, I know. Such a ridiculous example to use. As Brett said, would have been better off if he said Belgium or Sweden, Norway. That's Norway,
Scotland,
Sweden, Finland, Scotland. We got two guys that probably have a chance, but Norway, Sweden, Finland, all places, Greece, where players' careers go to die and be forgotten. So don't go there. Don't go there. I mean, unless that's only place you can go to make money, I suppose, then fine. Yanks Abroad report real quick. Chris Richards, 10 on Tuesday in a win. Good to see him back. Anrie Chase, 81 and a goal and a win for Stuttgart. Musa, Pulisic, 45 each in a win. Versus Toljan's Sassuolo. So Toljan was in the 18, didn't play. Probably getting
Coppa Italia, right?
It was. So Sassuolo's like, we're going to lose anyhow. We're not playing our starters. We're not playing Toljan. El Luca de la Torre got to play a cup game for 30 minutes in a win, and he got an assist. Well, holy shit, is he back? I don't know. We'll see come this weekend. Donovan Pines in the 15 for Barnsley in a tie. Slonina still banned to not even making the 18. Yeah. Whoa.
Well, you said Pines in the 15.
No, Pines played 15.
Okay.
And this is really weird since Pines is one of the best players for Barnsley earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And now he's only getting 15 minutes off the bench, and Slonina's not even making the bench. So there you go. There. Paxten Aaronson, 90 minutes in a tie versus Ajax. We already talked about how great that was. Dominic Downs in extra time for Kern in a win. Nathaniel Brown, 82 brilliant, mostly minutes in a lot. No, 82 minutes, ghostly minutes. I'm sorry, ghostly minutes for Frankfurt in a loss. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's like he wasn't on the pitch, but the other team went down the other side of the pitch the whole game. They went and attacked the right back the whole game. Swear to God. And Nathaniel Brown never got to touch the ball hardly the whole game.
Jack Pineda goes again with Dominic Downs, Derek.
Did I say Dominic?
He goes, Damien. All right, guys, take your shot.
I'm just saying it on purpose now. All right, Marlon Fossey, 90 minutes in a loss. Like, Standard Liège is so horrible this season. They are so bad. They got to turn something around there at Standard Liège. Something's going horribly wrong. And then CCV and Trusty played side by side for 90 minutes in a win. Surprise for Celtic. Then on Thursday, Jedi went 90 in that win with the assist we talked about. Adams, 90 minutes for Bournemouth in a win. Griffin Yao, 30 minutes in loss. Brian Reynolds had, I believe, what they called herpes B symptoms. And so they kept him off on his left testicle. So he couldn't play. It's all right. He'll be back. Just a knock on the balls. John Tompkinson. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
For Norwich. Well, he's playing for the U21s. And he went 90 minutes against PSV's U21s. They did win the game 2-0. So good for John Tompkinson. Still holding it up somehow. All right. Brandon Vasquez has gone from 20 minutes game to 15 minutes game, to 10 minutes game, 5 minutes game, to no game at all. Just road pined for the whole 90 for Monterey in the 18. And that is all, folks. That's what we got tonight. And thanks to the 230 of you who showed up here tonight to watch this show live. We do appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. Toss your sister salad, whatever gets her off. All right. We will be back on Monday. Hopefully it'll be a decent weekend of soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. Football, calcio, whatever you want to call it. We don't really give a shit. The names aren't important. It's the sport. Oh, more Johnny. Derek's a fake German. I guess I am. But is my mom fake? Brett can attest. My mom is German as hell.
I think she puts on the accent just like you do with D-Rec.
Kind of sounds the same. Yes. She kind of sounds the same. But it's probably not that thick. She's really depleted her accent over the years. All right. Until the next time, we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. If you're in Indiana, you won't be able to jerk it. Sorry. You got to put in your driver's license. Other than that, we will see you on Monday. Good night.
That hurt.
I'm really proud of the way that the guys just put in the shit.
Hey, what's it like in Brazil right now? Is it warm? Yeah. It's always hot, huh? Yeah.
You really suck.
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
You getting that ass, Larry? Know what I mean? You getting that ass, Larry. That's what the fuck you do.
We are enjoying a lot about this time here.
Why are you holding up a card to indicate a penalty? Like, there's so many different things you can do, and you decide to hold up a card. That's